Oh, this?
Yeah.
No, he's made out of some kind of tile
Wow.
Oh, okay.
that they fitted in there. They used to have an art show
Wow.
at Fashion Valley. They had it for years, and I got this watercolor here of a centaur playing a harp,
Oh, yes. I was looking at that.
Okay.
and I got him there. And they haven't had an art show there
For
just
ages,
years,
right?
Ages.
Oh, yeah.
And
I never did too much like painting with. I
uh-huh.
never did too much with color. I always did like basically like with the pen
Mm-hmm.
and tried and only did work with pen. Like uh I didn't like doing things like doing with the pencil or anything
Mm-hmm.
because my cousin would always show me up.
Oh.
He was a better artist than I was.
Oh,
I
anybody's a better artist than I am.
no, I seen your stuff, dude.
Yeah.
You are
I mean,
awesome.
what's the. You are.
You you have um and see my illustrations are nothing compared to yours. As a just little short stories, and maybe like pictures like you would find in a comic book, broken up like that in scenes.
Yeah, that's how I
And
do.
then I got little like paragraphs straight to the point because
Oh.
they're I was gonna try to enter a contest, but
Oh.
so I can win some money
Uh-huh.
as I and the contest was triple X. It's a triple X contest, and as I
Oh.
can, you sent in a picture with your drawing, and and if your picture wins,
Uh-huh.
you get not only your story printed as like, but you get to print another thing, and you get the whole like the you get the front cover,
Whoa.
your story printed, and something in the back, which
Wow.
was cool, and $500.
Wow.
Dude,
That
I
is
was
cool.
like, I wanted just to see if I could win. I was like, but then it's like I never finished. I got too in detail about it, so I just kept drawing other books
Well,
and then storylines
What's
to
the
it.
recent you've drawn, or right now? What's the recent you're?
I'm doing a steampunk story. I've got
Wow.
this thing of steampunk characters.
Steampunk?
Steampunk, yeah. It's like, did you ever see a TV show, a Western that was called The Wild Wild West?
Yes.
Remember how he had all this modern stuff, but back in cowboy days?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Well, in steampunk, it's set back in the 1870s. And they've got stuff like that, only like a robot, you have to wind them up
Okay.
to
Like
make them work. Or they've got,
they got the like what was those things called? Like oh
segways and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've got that. In fact,
Things that worked on steam or magnets and
yeah, I've got one like that here.
yeah,
Oh, I love it when
I
you
like
color
your stuff. Like
when you color them,
yeah,
Alex. I love looking. Gosh.
that is awesome.
Like that.
That is cool. And I love your stuff, man. That's cool.
But there was something. Where was that segway? Well, they don't call them. My characters don't call them segways. They call them standers because they have to stand on the thing to ride it. Seriously.
That is cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're fun. Uh, I like all the characters, but the one I'm doing now
What are you doing now? Okay.
is this one. It's about a rally that they get involved in. And they also get mixed up with a gold robbery. But anyway,
Oh my, that is cool. And that's you made dolls too, of them right there.
dolls?
Is that them?
No, that's not them. I can't make dolls. I make teddy bears. Well, I used to make teddy bears. But no, these are a couple of European cartoon characters. It was called The Adventures of Tintin.
Okay.
Oh, I
These are
remember. Yes.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
were cartoons, remember?
Uh huh.
And he was this kid who went all around the world having adventures. He was like this 14-year-old detective. And Captain Haddock was somebody he met in one of the books. And they went all around the world. They get involved with counterfeiters or
And what are those in the glass containers right there, Alex? Is that like
those are rooms.
these right here?
Yeah, they're miniature rooms.
Oh, dude, that is cool. That's
Oh yes.
it's nice. Oh, so like a room that you would find in a dollhouse. Maybe?
Yeah, it is like a doll's house. Everything there I put in by hand. The floorboards.
You
The
did
paint.
that?
Yeah, I did all this.
That is awesome. Wow, very talented.
Well, I was interested in this for a while. There was a shop. In fact, it's off Navajo Road.
Oh, okay.
It used to be down there. It was called Cricket, and they had all this stuff for people who like miniatures.
Okay.
And I made three
Rooms?
rooms, two kitchens, a bathroom. The other kitchen's up here.
Let's check that. Oh, that is.
Yeah. Look at that one.
With the cat, is that the stove, right?
Yeah, that's the
That you
stove.
would throw logs in there? And
Yeah.
stuff?
Pumpkin pie on top of it.
I
There's a dry sink with the water pump, an ice cream freezer, a butter churn.
That is cool.
There's the kitchen.
Right there, black cat. That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
very talented man you are.
Oh no, if I was very talented, I'd have money. Instead, I have fun, and
That's the most
That's
important.
even important.
That's more important to have the fun. You know. I mean. And I can't remember all the names of your teddy bears, but I know you have names for your own.
Oh yeah. That scooter back there. These are the people I started out with. Remember when I used to draw these?
Oh yes.
I used to do these at work.
It work on your break.
Yeah, I came up with these. This was about a bunch of magicians from another world who are in exile on Earth because they don't have enough magic. And they were all from the same magician's planet, but they're from different walks of life. He was a prince. He was from the nobility. In fact, these two are first cousins. His people were called Medusans. The little girl, the old lady, she was the healer. He was a woodworker.
Wow.
But the
And where would you get your journals, the books?
The books?
Yeah.
Oh shoot, you could get those at Arts. Do you ever hear of a place called Hobby Lobby? You can get them there.
Uh-huh.
There used to be a place that sold art supplies. I don't know if it's still there, but it was down in Hillcrest. It used to be that you know that brick store, that brick building on the corner. It used to be a See's Candy.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it still there? Because
I
they
don't-
sold
I
art
don't-
supplies.
No, I'll have to look because I.
They sold art supplies. You know where the store is where they sell all the hats?
Yeah, I wore like I got my pink feather. You got the pink feathered hat.
This is
Oh.
like across the street from it. I haven't been there for a long time, but see that star he's got.
Mm-hmm.
His people are called Medusans, and you do not want to get him in a dangerous situation. He says one word, and the star lights up. And that's what happens.
You turn into stone?
permanently turned to stone.
Wow.
His people are like the rulers of the magician's world. He's the middle son of the royal family, but he has only two magical powers, so he was exiled. See, this was kind of like almost like an they kidnapped her and lived to regret it. But
Yeah. Cool.
they're back at the house. He's the muscle of the group, but he only has one power, but it cuts out without warning. See, they're all from a planet of magicians,
Hmm.
but it's not like Harry Potter. They don't have to go to school to learn how to use them. But I thought this was a pretty good one right here. And then, so she's not so tough after all.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're born with just these different powers, but they're afraid. See, on their world, to be a good citizen, you have to have 5 powers. They call the powers talents. And like that little girl's a 10-year-old, so by her age, she should have 3 talents already. She only has 1. And up until they get into their 20s, they're tolerated because you might develop other magic. But if you don't, you're exiled. They push you through this mirror. They call it the mirror of expulsion. And there's 100,000 livable worlds where you can go. But until you either develop more magic, you can't come back. And she was taken away from her parents and pushed through the mirror. All of these others, except for the prince, who stepped through himself because they only had 2 powers. Besides the star, he can summon wind, and he can give you a summer breeze, or he can unleash a hurricane if he wants to. He never wants to. But he did something like that, though. They did a time trip, and he blew a couple of crooks out of their room. Oh, I could do that. And all of a sudden, part of the storm was in the room. He blew them out the door and across the corridor. But if they develop more power, so they have 5, they come back. And at the start of that particular book I showed you, was telling the little girl, you're the one they're going to let come back, not me. I'm not a prince anymore. I'm just Ruger. But you're the one that they'll let come back. And she does develop another power later on. She becomes a door maker, where all she has to do is put her hands up like this and think of a place she wants to be, and she's there.
And she's there? Wow. That's cool.
And as she gets older, she can do that through time as well as distance.
Wow.
She can't do that yet. She has to be 13. She's only 10.
Okay, so once she's 13, then she could.
Well, she
That's
did it,
cool.
but it was like a power surge. And they were looking at a book of old ships. And I used an actual historic event when I did this.
Okay.
And she was looking at it, and all of a sudden, it's like she was hypnotized. And I can see the boat. It's real. And then she was gone, and she pulled all of them after her. And they went back to 1934. And in 1934, there was an ocean liner called the Morro Castle. And people called it the Whoopee Cruise because it went back and forth between New York and Havana. And it was the Whoopee Cruise because, in 34 they had Prohibition. But in Havana, there was no prohibition, so people would buy all this rum and liquor, and they'd drink it all up on the way back, and that's why it was the Whoopee cruise.
But yeah.
But on its last voyage, the ship caught fire, and the ship was lost. It didn't sink; it ran aground. But it was a terrible thing. The crew deserted and left the passengers trapped aboard, and people jumped overboard. You know, some were
Hmm.
killed by the smoke in their sleep, and it was really bad. And she was looking at this picture, and they said, "Well, that gave the magic a focus of where to take her." And they were talking about it, and he said, he was talking to the old lady, the healer, and he says, "How long is it going to take before she builds up enough magical energy to take us home?" And she said, "Oh, it shouldn't take more than a day or 3 days." And he says, "We don't have 3 days.
Hmm.
We have to get off this ship day after tomorrow." And she goes, "Oh, no, this isn't one of the ones that sink." And he says, "No, it doesn't sink. It runs aground. But this is what happens first." And actually, there's still a mystery in real life about the Morro Castle because no one knows whether the captain's death was natural or if he was murdered.
Wow.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But I used that historical thing for them. And the old lady was very upset. He said, "But all these humans, they're so carefree. Can't we tell them?" And he says, "No, we can't. We can't change it. It's in the history books. It's part of the maritime law. We can't change it. We can't do anything. We can't even tell them. If we warn them, they're going to ask us, how do we know?" And at that time, they were having labor trouble aboard the Morro Castle. And they say, "We don't want to be separated and locked up. We have to stay together." And she said, "It's terrible." He says, "I know, the heart could break, but our hands were tied before we came." Because I wanted to show, the thing of time travel. You can't change history. And,
Right.
they can't.
Mm.
They know what's going to happen, but we can't tell them.
This period, that point, that particular, uh because it actually happened. It's in the
Yeah.
history books, like you
Yes.
said. It's a point. What? How would you say it? A point, a pivotal point, like preventing a war, almost.
Yeah, like to keep this from sinking. And a lot of safety measures were brought in because of what happened on the Morro Castle.
Is it?
And at the end of the book, they used a magician's custom. See, the old lady was the first one to arrive on Earth. She was a young woman, and she married a human, a rich human. They never had kids because magicians and humans don't mix. I mean, you can make love till your balls fall off, but you're not going to get this person pregnant. You're a human. She's a magician. You're genetically incompatible.
Mm.
So she and her husband never had kids. And because she was the first, the others are drawn there when they come through. And they all live in this big house. In fact, the house is up in Hillcrest. That's where they live.
Wow.
Remember where I used to live? That
Yeah.
apartment I had there?
Yeah. Over on oh. 'Cause,
Walnut Avenue.
yeah, me and Johnny moved in that.
Remember that big house on the corner across from
Yes.
that
Oh,
big
yes.
yellow house
Right
on
that-
the corner
yes,
with
right
the
at the
fence
corner.
and everything?
Yeah.
That was the magician's house.
Wow.
That's where Lorene and her human husband lived. And I guess I'm boring you about this.
No,
but I
no,
keep
you're
No.
thinking
not.
about
He's,
it.
he's listening to everything because
Yeah.
he's fascinated. I love it. It gives me memories of when you're talking about all these. It's like a homemade story. It's
Oh,
nice
yeah,
to.
it is a homemade
It's a
story.
nice to sit here, relax,
Yeah.
listening to a story.
And the thing is, with the magicians, it's like first they were just like a group of survivors, almost like on a desert island,
Right.
trying to survive. But now they become a family. the old lady refers to the three men as my boys. And the little girl and a playmate of hers is a fat kid who comes into the stories later. And he knows about them, but no one believes them, so they're okay. And she calls them my grandchildren. And the boys, the men, call Pete, he's our youngest brother. Only with the magicians, they mean it. It's not like, how Indians used to be blood brothers, and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's kind of like adoption, but not. It's like, you are a member of my family, of my house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Whether, you are. And so she regards the kids as her grandchildren. And she calls the three men my boys. And they call